Hello, my dear friends. Welcome once again to Marriage Without Tears channel. My name is Felix Okeke. I am your marriage counselor and coach. And today we are going to be discussing a very wonderful topic indeed. If you can listen attentively, I believe God, it will bless your marriage. And what is that topic? Simply put, how to cater effectively to a sick spouse. How to cater effectively to a sick spouse. You know, we all enter into marriage with this axiom, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. And we forget the fact that of a truth, sometimes a spouse may enter into a period of sickness, into a period of agony, into a period of pain. How do we cater to such a spouse in moments like that? That is the subject of our discussion tonight. And if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please do so immediately. There's the red button by my side. Click on it and get subscribed and be part of this wonderful program, because the program is simply designed to minister to married couples and families, especially those who want to make a success of their marriage. And I believe that that is your own vision too, to have a very successful and effective marriage that will not only meet your expectations but even exceed your expectations. So that is what we are doing on this channel. So tonight we are discussing simply how to cater to the needs of your sick spouse. Number one, I want you to let's take it from this perspective. The very first thing you need to do is to understand and empathize with such a spouse in such a moment. Don't be indifferent. Don't look at it as don't degrade him. Don't, empathize with him. Understand the situation. That sickness is not a time of joy. It's simply a time of sorrow, a time of pain, a time of agony, a time of groaning, and a time of sorrowing. There is nobody that is in sickness that is happy. So it's not a very good time. And your spouse at that point in time needs you to be compassionate unto him or her. He needs you to show a whole lot of love, a whole lot of empathy towards him or her. This is what is demanded at a period like that. I have seen spouses whose marriages deteriorated or even went bankrupt simply because the spouse was not properly catered to in moments like that. I've seen a woman who left her sick spouse at home and went about her business, never catered to him, never got interested on his welfare until it became too late and that man died in that agony. It's not the right thing to do. I have seen people who don't actually pay much attention to the needs of their spouse at that moment, at that very painful, reproachful, critical time. It's a very bad time indeed. And I want you to know that once a spouse is sick, he or she needs your attention, your critical attention at such critical moments. So pay undivided attention. If need be, if you are a worker, you can go to your office and take a leave. Go back home and take care of your spouse. If you are a business person, this may be a time to, be absent. Just pay a little attention to your business, but more attention to the needs of your spouse. Empathize with him or her. Show him that there is a need for you. This is why you came into this relationship, to make sure that he becomes or she becomes the very first shoulder that he or she can lean on. It's very critical at times like this. So that is the first thing to do. Learn to understand this situation. Learn to empathize with him. Learn to show a lot of compassion and love in moments like this. It's very important. Secondly, if a spouse is sick, this is not a time for the spouse that is healthy to begin to cry about or to begin to, show a lot of unnecessary emotions. This is the time to take stock of your spiritual side and begin to weigh in spiritually concerning that spouse. Begin to take the battle to the enemy if you are a believer, if you are a true believer in Christ, if you are a true believer in God, this is the time to dust your spiritual life. This is the time to get up and fight the real fight, because what is happening in the life of your spouse is a derobing in the spiritual arena. He has failed. There is a failure. There's a lapse somewhere. And when, what the Bible says, while men slept, the enemy came and sowed tares. Possibly there was a spiritual relapse in your lives, and that gave rise for the enemy to come in and sow sickness in the life of your spouse. This is the time for you as a man, a woman, to stand in the gap for your spouse. This is the time to prayerfully take the battle to the enemy. And if you discover that in such times that you can hardly pray because of the circumstances around you, then you can get other people who are spiritually alive to join forces with you to do battle. It is very, very important. Look for other people who are wonderful vessels of prayer. It could be your pastor. It could be other brethren in the church. It could be people around. Anyone that you think is fervent enough, who has a passion for you and your family, that person can come and join you in the place of prayer so that you can take the battle to the enemy and reinforce your spiritual lives as a couple and be able to win the battle at the spiritual arena. It's very, very important indeed. The prayer aspect, very, very important. Sometimes you may discover at such periods that your spouse is groaning in sickness and can hardly pray. So at that point in time, become the prayer warrior. At that point in time, take spiritual audacity and authority. At that period in time, stay in the gap. Become the man or the woman that stands in the gap for the life of your family, for the life of your husband, for the life of the rest of your family. So it's very important indeed. So this is the second thing you need to do. And of course, the third thing you need to do at such critical time, but before I go into it, I want to remind you, have you actually subscribed to this channel? Look at that red button by my side. Subscribe to this channel. Be part of this move. It's a wonderful move indeed. It will do a lot of joy. It will give a lot of leverage to your marriage. So subscribe to our channel as we move ahead. What is the third thing that you must do in the life of your spouse that is sick? Show him or her a lot of kindness. Kindness is critical at such moments. Kindness. Go out of your way to experience kindness to your spouse. If at that point in time he or she desires to use hot water to take his or her bath, go ahead, do the hot water. If that person requires you to press that spot, to massage him or her, do it. Show him or her extreme kindness. That is why you are in that relationship. Kindness, very, very important. Kindness both in words and in your attitudes. Kindness in everything you do. If there is a need for you to prepare a special meal, that will, a kind of peppery kind of meal that will, blow out sweat out of him, you may need to go ahead and do that. You may need to spend anything to show him maximum kindness at such periods in time. Very, very important indeed. So at any time that your spouse is sick, please go into your arsenal and draw out the spirit, the virtue of kindness in you. Show him or her extreme kindness. It can work the magic. And when you are talking to him or her, minister unto him or her in kind words. Kind words. Words that are garnished in kindness. Attitudes that are garnished in kindness. Let him know that even if death comes, he will look at you and look at the kindness you are showing and say, no, I cannot bow to this death. I want to stay a little longer with this wonderful woman, with this wonderful man. So show him a lot of kindness at such period in time. And of course, the fourth thing you need to do, anytime your spouse is sick, please, I beg of you, seek for medical attention. Seek for medical solution. Seek for medical, I can repeat it several times, because I know of men and women who consign their sick spouses at home because they were praying and fasting, and then they never looked for a medical solution until it became too late. I actually know of a woman who kept her husband at home, felt indifferent about the whole thing, murmured a few minutes or a few seconds of prayer, went to her sleep, and until it became very critical. By the time the man was rushed to the hospital, it has become very late. It has gone too late. And the man gave up the ghost. So, reality is, please seek for medical attention. There are things that are addressed medically. There are situations in the body that are addressed medically. So, seek for a medical solution. And while seeking for a medical solution, look for those who specialize in the area of the sickness, in the area of the ailment, in the area of the disease, who are able to render the kind of medical service that will make a lot of difference in the life of your sick spouse. Seek for such people. Don't take your spouse to people who don't know anything about the ailment. Look for people. That's why I encourage people. If you have to seek for a medical solution, please go to the general hospital, go to the national hospital, go to the teaching hospital, go to hospitals that are equipped for that purpose. And I tell you, there will be one or two specialists in that area who, when they diagnose your husband or your wife, they are able to say, this is practically what is wrong. And then you begin to, seek, they begin to find ways of taking care of that ailment. So always seek for a medical solution. Very, very important. It is not ideal for you to keep your sick spouse in the house and then stay simply on the spiritual solution. I know of couples who did that only to rush their spouses to the hospital at a very late hour for something that could have been corrected medically. And such a spouse finally lost the battle at the hospital because they were brought in too late. Please don't do so. Even while your spouse is in the hospital, you can still be interceding for him or her. But while you are seeking for a spiritual solution, also seek for a medical solution. Very, very important. And finally, in attending effectively to a sick spouse, ensure that you quicken that person with the word of faith. Faith is very, very important at such period, because I've seen spouses who are battling with an ailment that others have declared as incurable. People have overcome cancer, you must know that. I have ministered to a man who had a hole in his heart and was actually crying in the hospital until I came in and we started praying together, and I came to understand that he had a hole in the heart. In ministering in the language of faith, he took on that faith, and his spirit was revived on the inside. Within a short time, about a week later, the doctors came and checked him, and they declared that there was no longer a hole in his heart. So people have overcome that. Holes in the heart. People have overcome that. People have overcome all manner of sicknesses, even kidney ailments. So know how to pour the language of faith into your sick spouse. Do that continually. Whether that person is bedridden or not, the language of faith can quicken the worst of it. It can quicken anything. It can make a sick to be revived immediately. It can make a cancer to recede immediately. It can cause a lot of things. So learn how to communicate the language of faith to your sick spouse. And at the end of the day, when that ailment is over, when that sickness is over, that may be the language that will take him to the next level. You can never say that. You can never know that. So I want you to always do these 5 things. And I believe, God, that your sick spouse shall be restored unto good health. And you will go back to your homes rejoicing. And your marriage and your family life will be revived to the glory of God. So do this. And let the name of him who created us, Lord Almighty, let his name be glorified. I thank God for giving us time and for us to communicate in this very edition of Married Without Tears. And I believe, God, that the words we have ministered today will make a lot of difference in your life, if not now, but in years to come. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless your home. See you next week.